nobody uses that to disparage actually, people who have learning disabilities and things like that anymore. Retarded is just an insult, right? It's just an insult for other people. But they continued, using retarded as a slur and an insult is never, ever well said, Kamala Harris, no matter who it's against and no matter the larger point being made. It's always a betrayal of the disability community. We need and expect better from you. So she's taking her hits. She's taking it. Then they continued even more. Using retarded as a slur and an insult is never ever well said, Kamala Harris. They wrote this twice. Anyway, so Brown went on to blast right-wing reporters, of course, because it was right-wing reporters who asked the question. No, they didn't. Right-wing reporters who would retweet the video and targeted the Daily Wire specifically. Attention right-wing reporters retweeting this. Don't bother retweeting me to attack Kamala Harris. I'll just block you so my tweet doesn't show up on your timeline. I refuse to be used as a token disabled pawn by a bunch of hypocrites supporting an ableist monster. Really? If you want to amplify the video without amplifying the Daily Wire reporter, since they are the worst, here it is. And some other people were mad at Harris. My brother has Down syndrome and has a heart of gold compared to Donald J. Trump and is a better man. Kamala Harris, you lost my vote. Hey, guess what? I don't think that person was intending to disparage your Down syndrome relative. And, it's like people are just, again, this is a power play. People just trying to tell you what word you can use. Now, I'm not I don't use, just because, I don't even use the word retarded, although occasionally I do. But you know what? Again, using that in a disparaging manner, to each his own. Okay? Anyway, then someone else continued. It's a term that doesn't fit the differing scale of intelligence found in humans or the disabilities that underlie. It's a slur. Well, it's meant to bully. An apology is owed. Properly said, Trump is a malignant narcissist of limited cognitive skills. Really? I think you're insulting all the malignant narcissists. I'm sorry. That's a slur. Isn't calling someone a narcissist also can be considered a slur? I mean, whatever. Although there were some people who defended Harris, I understand your point and think she will make this right and apologize. Like, she didn't apologize. Oh my God. Anyway, so, but it was clear. And then the thing is, Harris tried to play it off like she pretended she didn't hear it. When she was interviewed about it later. I think, let's see. Okay. So on Saturday, Harris was asked about the remark by CBS News' Caitlin Huey Burns. Harris replied, "It's an incredibly offensive term, and as someone who has a long-standing relationship of advocacy for our disability community," does this sound like it's just some politically correct nonsense? Anyway. As someone who has a long-standing relationship of advocacy with our disability community, in fact, I have a whole policy proposal on it. Of course she does. Yeah, just like, oh my God, anyway. That I have been working on for quite some time, that we rolled out weeks ago. It's offensive, and you would think that in the year 2019, people would have much better understanding of how hurtful a term like that can be, but also the history behind it, which is a history of really ignoring the needs and realities of the capacity of our disability community. Bitch, you said it was well said. What are you talking about? Huey Burns asked, "You didn't correct him though. Did you hear him?" No, so here's the catch-22 on that. Okay, if she didn't hear him, why did she say, "Well said"? Well said. And if she did hear him, she said, "Well said." Well said. So either way, she's... What was well said if you didn't hear him? Harris responded, I heard him talk about the other stuff, and then that came later, and it was not something that I really heard or processed or, in any way condone. That's for sure. Oh, really? I think you heard it just fine. She heard whatever, and then it just didn't dawn on her that you can't call people retarded anymore. I don't know. I don't call people retarded. I just say they're dumbasses. But whatever, you'd think that but here was what I am surprised at. At least the disability community is being consistent. Whereas some communities allow you to say things about Trump and conservatives and Republicans or whatever that you can't say about them. But at least the disability community is consistent. And so I will give them that. So, all right, moving on. Next article was from, GOP Texas and retirement mania makes retaking the House doubtful. Yeah, there's a bunch of Republicans who are not rerunning for election. A little more politics here. It's still more than a year before the 2020 election, but already there are 15 Republican House members who have announced their retirement. Texas has been especially hard hit. No fewer than 5 Texas House members are retiring after this term. At least 3 of those districts are up for grabs next year. We call it Texodus, an Austin-based Democratic strategist Colin Strother wrote in the Washington Examiner. The Republican power base in Texas has got to be worried, and we are excited. Representative Bill Flores announced Tuesday that he would not seek a sixth term representing the state's 17th district, come amid a flood of House Republican retirements. So far, 15 GOP lawmakers have declared they will not run in 2020. A third of them are from Texas. The retirements are a mix of safe Republican districts as well as some swing districts, and those give us some consternation. Texas Republican strategist Brendan Steinhauser told the Washington Examiner. Campaign analysts said Democrats could pick up 3 of Texas seats, now held by Representative Will Hurd, Pete Olson, and Kenny Marchant, who announced their retirements over the summer. So, quite a few people in the Republican side of the aisle are retiring. Also from a solidly GOP district is 17-term Wisconsin member James Sensenbrenner, who announced his retirement on Thursday. There's a whole bunch of them, and so it's going to definitely make it hard for the Republicans to make any gains in the House. I think they're still pretty safe in the Senate based on who's running again. Senators tend to be safer as it is. So there you go. Anyway, that's interesting, I thought. And speaking of presidential candidates, apparently Hillary Clinton is working behind the scenes with Elizabeth Warren. I want to put a big D for doubt on this one. I just am not confident that Hillary Clinton is working for anybody but herself, and I have a feeling that she's going to jump in the race. Before I move on to this article, though, there's a couple people I haven't said hi to yet. I didn't say hi to Dave. Who else showed up? MC. Hammer Time is in the house. Cynical Lindsay, hello. The gayest person on YouTube. Wow. I wonder who that could be. Okay, the gayest person on YouTube. Okay. Welcome to the show. I think you might have changed your handle since the last time you're here. I have a sneaky feeling that may be the case. All right. Anyway, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Massachusetts Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren are reportedly developing a close political friendship that might prove pivotal into deciding the Democratic presidential nomination. Really? Huh. Both have kept in touch since Warren announced her decision to seek the Democratic nomination last February, NBC News reported Saturday. One source close to NBC... What? One source close to NBC told the media outlet that the two had conversed at least once since Warren's announcement. Well, that's pretty... Well, there you go. That's a close relationship. Oh, they talked one time. They have a close relationship. While another could recall a recent substantive conversation that was front of mind. That clearly has not gone unnoticed. And I think she really appreciates that, the source told NBC. Appreciates what? The most qualified person in the history of America who ran for president and got beat by a game show host? Oh, good Lord. I just, you know what? Anyway, Hillary Clinton would absolutely have influence over a number of delegates to this convention. Well, of course she would, because she still runs the DNC. She's the only one. She's the only one who could raise money like Hillary Clinton can. I'm sure Obama can raise money, but Hillary Clinton owned the party for an entire election cycle in 2016. She had control of all the money, and that came out in the old, what were those called? WikiLeaks? Remember those? Nobody does remember those, because all they worry about is the Russians. See, the Russians were interfering in the election, and the Russians supposedly hacked the DNC. Why they would hack the DNC, I don't know. That's nothing. That's not part of the government. But everyone knows that Trump and the Russians were supposedly colluded together, although we discovered that they weren't. However, does anyone remember what was in those WikiLeaks emails that they, just scattered about all over the internets? Yeah, nobody wants to talk about those, how corrupt the DNC was, because they changed the subject. They were successful at changing the subject to the Russians, right? So nobody talked about what was in the WikiLeaks emails. That was brilliant. Now, here's the problem. And I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent, but here's the problem, people. In fact, I'm putting this article away. Here's the problem. So there's been some speculation and actually some evidence that perhaps, ooh, I just noticed a little disco groove behind me. Oh, I got distracted. Perhaps the Russians, maybe, I know this is a conspiracy theory, but possibly, because the whole Russian thing is a conspiracy theory, perhaps the Russians didn't hack the DNC and John Podesta. Oh, ooh, careful, Marty, careful, because there's a possibility I could become sad really soon, but because if you talk to people who maybe knew a little bit about coding and data and metadata and shit like that, probably the most famous NSA computer data analyst of all time, Bill Binney, said that that wasn't even hacked. Not at least the metadata he saw, that he analyzed, and there's been more. There's several of them out there, and I don't think they're not known to be conspiracy theorists. In fact, Bill Binney, they call him the NSA legend or something like that, because Bill Binney found shit against the Bush administration. So he's not exactly a Trump hack saying this. Also, okay, wait, I can't. Nope, I can't. I can't go this. I can't go there. I can't because I'll be. I don't want to. I don't want to wander into Alex Jones territory, but there's evidence. And what would happen, for example, because there's who's the guy from the New Zealander dude? Oh, Kim.com or whatever. He also says he has information that can prove that the Russians didn't hack the DNC. And imagine after all this, because you notice too in the Mueller report. So the special counsel's team, they did these indictments, right? They did the indictments of the two Russian troll farm, or I don't even call them troll farm. I call them clickbait farm companies, because they put out these outrageous ads on Facebook or whatever, and they get clickbait. And then when they get clickbait, you get targeted ads, and they get your dad and all that shit. That's what those companies were. Although apparently, according to the Mueller team, those were connected to the Russian government. Now they don't have any proof of that, and in fact, there's been a judgment against the Justice Department, federal government, who wants to prosecute that case, because one of the companies came forward and said, "Oh, okay, we're being sued. Well, fine, we'll respond and let's have some discovery." Well, the judge discovered that the federal government didn't really have as much evidence as they thought they did or claimed to do, and so now there's a back and forth, and so the judge excoriated the special counsel's team, who was in the process of prosecuting this stupid company, and told them, well, you can't make claims that they did what you said they did, because one, there hasn't been a trial, two, you don't have any evidence, and so you can't say definitively that these things happened. And so that's when Mueller came out and had a little press conference and changed his whole language regarding those companies, using the word allegedly a lot. Okay? And that's one of those things that people didn't really catch up on, right? But he changed his whole tune to allegedly this, allegedly that. And then also the Mueller team went and they have indictments for 13 Russian generals. So they have indictments for 13 Russian generals who they know are never, ever, ever, ever going to go to trial. So there's another 13 of those indictments. Because remember, everyone's talking about how many indictments they got. They got, this and this and this, and these many people pled guilty and whatever. They have indictments against 13 Russian generals who they know they're never going to have to go to trial with, because that's just not going to happen. You know it's not. There's no way in hell Russia's going to extradite their 13 generals, right? But as far as a headline goes, it's brilliant. It's just brilliant, because, we've got 13 more indictments. Well, what do you have for proof? Well, we're not going to, until we go to trial, we don't have to show you our proof. It's perfect. You don't have to do anything. So here's my point that I'm trying to go here with, and how I got on this tangent, I don't know. But think about this. Think about if suddenly, and the 13 Russian generals are supposedly the ones who masterminded the hacking of the Democratic National Committee, which is not a government entity at all, right? The Democratic National Committee is a private organization that has no government secrets. So why would any other government hack the Democratic National Committee? Now, would they hack Hillary Clinton's server or private server at her house in wherever, Chappaqua or whatever it's called? Well, sure, because she was Secretary of State. Not supposed to have secrets on her computer, but hey, somebody figured out that she was using that server. But that's okay. That's neither here nor there. Imagine, however, if sometime between now and the 2020 election, because the Democrats are trying to impeach Trump. I think they're trying to time it to be right in the middle of a campaign, so they're stalling their shit, and they're gonna probably come around April, May, June, somewhere in there. Then they're gonna go full-on impeachment, right? Because Nancy Pelosi's a strategist. But imagine at about that same time, proof comes out that the Russians did not hack the DNC. Proof comes out that perhaps somebody downloaded stuff onto a zip drive or whatever. Imagine that proof comes out around the same time. Oh my gosh, is that going to be a shit show? Because if that proof comes out, then what about those 13 Russian generals you indicted? Oh, that wasn't real, was it? That was just a little smoke screen that you know damn well they're not going to be going to trial. So you can indict Vladimir Putin himself. It ain't going to trial, so you don't have to prove anything you say. Okay? It's just fascinating. That would be so amazing. It would be an amazing time in our country. The Democrats trying to tear us apart by tearing, well, and I don't know if they had a legitimate reason to impeach Trump, more power to them, but they haven't come up with one. They're trying so hard. And imagine though, that happens, then you get the, what do you call it? The proof that the Russians didn't hack the DNC. Someone's gonna, WikiLeaks comes out and says, okay, you know what? We normally don't divulge our sources for any of this information. However, this source has passed away a long time ago, and we're tired of being maligned for this. And you didn't let Julian Assange out, so we're just gonna blow the whole lid off the whole thing and tell you exactly where we got our information from. And it's not the Russians. Oh, it would be amazing, wouldn't it? Anyone agree? If you agree, put a 1 in the chat. Let me know that you hear what I'm talking about. All right, now let me do a little shield time because Sarah just reminded me right there. The Morning Night Live is brought to you by you, the viewers of the Morning Night Live, and rather more important than any type of sponsorship or whatever, just do a simple thing for me. Right down there, there's that little arrow, right? That arrow, it says it's a share. It's a little curved arrow. I think it curves this way. Is that right? Well, it probably curves that way. Hit the share button. Share this out on social media. If you're watching after the fact, especially, let people know what you're watching, and hopefully they'll come and watch too. Also, if you haven't already done so, hit the like button because, I kind of think people like me. And if you absolutely need something heard, or if you have questions for me, I'll answer any question you ask me through super chats, or I will also read super chats if you want, absolutely need to get my attention. That's down in the description down below, and Sarah's also put it in the chat. So, all right, let's get on to another article here. Let's see, I clicked a whole bunch from the day, and we'll get through as many as I can. This one I thought was fascinating with people talking about the Electoral College again. I just think it's funny that people are hung up on the Electoral College. Chris Hayes did a whole show on, if the Electoral College wasn't in the Constitution, it would be unconstitutional. Hold the phone! What, Chris Hayes? If it wasn't in the Constitution, it'd be unconstitutional? What an earth-shattering revelation! All right, it's hilarious. Anyway, semantic infiltration with the. By the way, reminder to liberals: the USA is not a democracy. Semantic infiltration within the political realm is typically defined in its various forms as unknowingly adopting the terms used by an opponent in such a way that to undermine one's own argument. Wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? With the help of their cronies in the mainstream media, leftists are exceptionally good at semantic infiltration. Yes, they are. Take the words, for example, illegal alien. The term is simple enough. When a citizen from a foreign country enters a country not of his origin, he is alien to that newly entered country because by birth he is not a citizen of it. When the individual has entered the new country in violation of that country's immigration laws, he can be properly termed an illegal alien. And that is actually in the statute. That's the terminology that's used in the statute that talks about illegal aliens. However, throughout the late 1990s, in order to shift the emphasis away from the very real fact that Mexican nationals crossing the border into the United States were doing so illegally, the left coined the disingenuous term undocumented immigrants. Now, you know what else? Here's the other thing about that term. Immigrant is also a legal term. And in order to be an immigrant, you have to go through an immigration process and, immigrate legally. Anyway, the mainstream media, clearly understanding Nazi Germany's propaganda techniques used to influence public perception, began repeating the term undocumented immigrant relentlessly. Undocumented, in this case, infers that illegal aliens simply lack the correct documentation that affords them the same basic rights as legal citizens of the United States. Since Americans take pride in our country having risen to greatness in part through mass legal immigration, the term immigrant seemingly provides a level of equal status. Through semantic infiltration, that's the word we talked about in the beginning of this article, the left and the mainstream media paint the perception that those who have traveled into our country illegally are not at all different from those who immigrated. The proof of the left's effectiveness in establishing politically correct semantic infiltration is when we observe Republican politicians, right-leaning political pundits, and even Fox News adopting the term. This is despite a 2012 ruling by the Supreme Court in which it used the term illegal alien because of its descriptive precision. So now we get to the term democracy, which I love hearing this because AOC and everyone talking about the Electoral College try to use this word democracy as though they know what the fuck they're talking about. In a very similar manner, the left uses the word democracy to describe the United States form of government. In her attempt to justify the abolition of the Electoral College as a form of electing the President of the United States, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently stated that the Electoral College is democracy altering. Oh my God. Has she read the Constitution? This would be an absolutely true statement if not for the fact that she was referring to the United States of America, which is not a democracy. Hear, hear. It's not. Does this basic detail hinder Ocasio-Cortez, leftists and mainstream media, and even many on the right from repeatedly referring to the United States as democracy? Not in the least. Now here's the thing. We do have democracy in the United States, okay? But the United States itself is not a democracy, okay? The individual states are all democracies, at least to my knowledge. I don't think anyone uses any sort of electoral college thing within the states. Your local city government is generally a democracy, okay? AOC Reed, yeah, really. And even your school board is a democracy because they're popular. Before I even go on to this, let me just give you my thoughts on this. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, but here's the reason. When I talk to people about this, they're arguing about the Electoral College is not fair and blah 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 blah. Here's the thing: the President of the United States is just that. He's the President of the United States. Okay? In other words, he's the president of a confederation of states. So each state gets to vote on who the president's going to be. It's never was supposed to be all the people vote on the President of the United States. Now, within each state, there is a democratic process to decide how the state will cast their vote for the President of the United States. Okay? It's not a democracy. It's a representative republic. Now, we all know that. But so, for example, the European Union. Now, they've kind of they made up this thing called the European Union, right? And each of the states within the European Union gets to, make, I don't know how, it's very way less democratic than the way ours does it, but they all send representatives from the European Union, and each member state of the European Union kind of has a vote in what they decide that they're going to make laws within the European Union. Because each separate state gets to, and then the separate states each have a vote on who becomes the chancellor of that European Union. Well, it's the same thing in the United States. Each state is its own separate democracy. Now, what the Electoral College does It does take into consideration that some states are going to have larger populations than other states. And so when they came up with this, 535 thing where they get because each state's, so the reason we have, just 2 senators, because each state gets a equal number of representation by state, and then the House representative gets to proportion that by the population. So you have 2 different competing factors that allow for smaller states to also not get run roughshod over by the larger populated states. And also, some of the states with the highest populations, some states have higher populations, some states have more land, some states have more resources, and so it gives you each parts of the country to be represented. Because if you had a straight up democracy, then everything we did in this country would be run by the people who live on the coast, where the highest populations are, or the there's no North Coast, but you know what I mean. So yes, we're not a democracy. Anyway, does this basic the reason is because of the astonishing success the left has had in semantic infiltration to frame our form of government as a democracy rather than using the correct term, representative republic. The term representative refers to the manner in which our republic functions. Ironically, in an effort to further graft democracy into societal lexicon, the left has begun using the Euro-inspired term representative democracy in its never-ending semantic infiltration assault. On November 6, 2012, Donald Trump tweeted, "The electoral college is a disaster for a democracy." He could have not been more correct. A democracy cannot have an electoral college, since by definition a democracy is not representative. There's a simple yet crucial reason for arguing the distinction between a republic and a democracy. By blurring the definition by which our form of government was founded, the left attempts to float any outrageous politically correct notion to the American public under the pretense of this will help make our democracy the way it should work. The other thing too that I've noticed, and it's funny because there are also people who think that we shouldn't have a Senate either. Okay, they want to have the country to be strictly a democracy. They're few and far between, but I know that that's the next proposal. That the fact that there's a Senate, they think that should be unconstitutional too, because that's because then some states with low populations just have too much power. But you got to have representation covering those smaller states, because remember, if you want, and here's the other thing. When our country was founded, we were not supposed to be. The federal government wasn't supposed to be as powerful as it is right now. Your lives should be affected by the government that is closest to you the most. Okay, meaning your state government, your city government, your county government, whatever way you want to do that. And so it made sense that this was a representative republic. Really, the president and the Congress and the Senate, really the only matters that they would get involved with are matters of national importance. Okay, so the common defense. Provide for the common defense and promote the general welfare, and or something like that. Remember what's that song? This Constitution of the United States of America. Remember Schoolhouse Rock? I used to love Schoolhouse Rock when I was a kid. Schoolhouse Rock was new when I was a kid. It just started coming out. Anyway, I got off on a tangent again. So anyway, the federal government was never supposed to be as powerful as it is. It basically had governing commerce between states, aka interstate commerce, and the Commerce Clause has been bastardized for all sorts of crazy things. But each state was supposed to have power. Your local state was supposed to have the power, and it was never supposed to be where here's a good example. So, was it Amy Klobuchar my state, one of my senators in my state, decided that apparently there had been a couple deaths of kids in swimming pools. I think there were 2. Okay, if kids in swimming pool, one of them happened to be in Minnesota, and so Amy Klobuchar brings this bill to the Senate, regulating the type of pool drain in a pool. Okay, and then also somebody else said something about how public pools had to mandatorily, every public pool. This was just in California. It had to have a mandatory disabled person lift that they had to install all municipal pools and everything. Get off on the cosign. So that's one of those things that's not supposed to be a federal law. It's not even. The federal government shouldn't be making a law about what kind of pool drain you have in a pool in Minnesota, but she brings it to the federal government. Now, the reason she is able to do that is because we've kind of overstepped the purpose of the interstate commerce laws, and because there's people with pool drains all over the country, somehow she gets this through under interstate commerce law. It's just, I don't know, it's crazy. Let me go real quick. Someone, I heard my bell ring. Hang on a second here. I've got a super chat. Thank you. Oh, the Breadbarian. Now, wait a minute. The Breadbarian. Well, thank you for the dough. I got a $2 super chat from the Breadbarian. Welcome to the show. I've not seen that name here before, so welcome. I'm glad you're here on the Morning Night Live with a $2 super chat via the Streamlabs link, which is in the description down below and somewhere there in the chat. The Breadbarian. That's funny. Now, I had heard of the Beardbarian. That's the dude. He changed his name too, though. He used to make some pretty interesting videos. But thank you for the dough, Redberry, and I appreciate you very much. All right. Anyway, I'm not going to read it. There's a whole lot left of this. Let me see if there's anything I wanted to add to this. Well, here you go. There's a simple yet crucial reason for arguing the distinction between a republic and a democracy. By blurring the definition by which our form of government was founded, the left attempts to float out any outrageous politically correct notion to the American public under the pretense this will help make our democracy work the way it should. When Benjamin Franklin was asked at the end of the Philadelphia Convention which form of government the American people were given, Franklin famously answered, "A republic if you can keep it." To appreciate Ben Franklin's response, it's important to recognize that our founding fathers were scholars in the highest sense. They recognized that before Rome was an empire, it was a republic, a collection of city-states that made up the whole. Individual city-states oftentimes lacked the military and economic capability to adequately defend against foreign invaders. However, by banding together as our states band together as the United States to provide for the common defense, I just add that where was I? However, by banding together, these city-states got a considerably stronger military and an economic republic that would have to be reckoned with should any foreign army attempt an invasion. By joining the collective republic, each city-state's security was significantly increased. With this historical knowledge, our founding fathers wisely determined that each of the 13 individual states were made much more secure when united together as a single republic. The Constitution, the Electoral College, and the subsequent representation from each state were all based on a republic government comprised of a collection of states. And again, we're a collection of states, so when we use the Electoral College to give each state to say who's going to be the leader of that collection of states. They're not the president of the millions of people. You're the president of a collection of states, so each state gets their votes. Now, I grant it, there's some people who want just direct democracy, just vote. But you know what? If you do that, then the people who live on the coast are always going to have power over people who don't live on the coast, because that's where most of the population is. But most of the resources are not in the coast. Okay, so now what do we? It's kind of like when, where was it they made the water restrictions? Oh, in Northern California. Anyway, I don't want to go on that tangent. Anyway, the Constitution, the Electoral College, and subsequent representation from each state were all based on a republic government comprised of a collection of states. Significantly, this is why the Pledge of Allegiance begins with citing an allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which is the representation around the world of a republic of the United States of America. The precise distinction of the United States as a representative republic rather than a democracy is vital to individual freedom because it prevents the tyranny of the masses, aka the coast. In today's heated political environment, a representative republic form of government makes it far less likely that the 11,506,364 people in California and New York who voted for the progressive candidate in the last presidential election can impose their political will on the 382,874 people in Indiana, Montana, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Montana, Arizona, West Virginia, Wyoming, Iowa, Missouri, and Idaho who did not. Since our form of government is a representative republic, the freedoms we enjoy are not dependent upon the political winds that blow in and out of the course of American history. Am I going to read the rest? No, I'm not going to read the rest. Anyway, there you go. Good thing you didn't get off on a cosine. Oh, no, it took me a while there, Duck Dog. By the way, good morning, Duck Dog. Oh my gosh. Okay, because I said I was going off on a tangent, and if you're that's a math pun, that's a math joke. That's hilarious. Okay, all right. Let's see. Did we do this one? Yeah, we did this one. Let's move on. We only got a few more minutes before we get into Twitter trends. What happened during? Oh, speaking of. Issues with the special counsel. I talked a little bit before about the issues with the Russian investigation. Here's another little problem with the I know, Duck Dog. Here's another problem with the Russian investigation. Apparently, the question of whether Michael Flynn was affected by efforts to get Trump and whether Judge Sullivan will keep him from reviewing the evidence that could prove prosecutorial misconduct. On Thursday, 2 docket entries in the criminal case against Michael Flynn provided a roadmap to the next steps in the case that took a surprise turn last week. As reported earlier this week, while Americans prepared for a long Labor Day weekend, this is a while back, lawyer Sidney Powell, who had taken over Flynn's defense in June, hit federal prosecutors with a motion to compel evidence and a request for sanctions for prosecutorial misconduct. In her motion, Powell charged that government attorneys withheld potentially... Why am I doing this? Because I got a full screen because I didn't realize it's cut off. In her motion, Powell charged that government attorneys withheld potentially exculpatory evidence from Flynn, who had pled guilty in late 2017 to lying to FBI agents. In a status report filed the same day, Powell also complained that the government had refused to grant her a security clearance to allow her to review pertinent evidence, and she sought presiding Judge Emmett Sullivan's intervention. So they weren't giving her, they weren't finishing up her security clearance, so she couldn't even look at some of the evidence they had. But there's also supposedly some. Let me just break this one down into some simple words. Flynn was kind of set in a trap and maybe didn't actually commit perjury, but the reason he originally pled guilty because he has integrity, and what they told him that wherever he misspoke, he agreed that he did, but now they're finding out a lot more things about this, and even Flynn saying, "Well, wait a minute. If that's the case, then I'm not pleading guilty because I didn't lie to these guys." Anyway, it's very convoluted and complicated. But anyway, yesterday, Judge Sullivan held an ex parte and sealed hearing with Mr. Flynn and defense counsel to consider Mr. Flynn's request for the court's intervention on counsel's request for security clearances. An ex parte hearing is one in which one or more parties are absent, which here would mean the prosecutors did not participate in the hearing. And because the hearing was sealed, a transcript is not publicly available, and Powell is prohibited from commenting on the proceedings. However, the docket order stated the bottom line. The court advised counsel that it intends to resolve Flynn's motion to compel production of Brady material before addressing any court intervention regarding security clearances for Mr. Flynn's counsel. So in short, they're going to, based on a prior case, which is the Eunice case, United States versus Eunice from 1989. The Eunice case involved the government prosecution of a Lebanese citizen for air piracy and hostage taking related to the 1985 hijacking of Royal Jordanian Airlines flight number 402. In that case, Eunice sought copies of all tapes or documentation of conversations between himself and an acquaintance, Jamal Hamdan, who the FBI had recruited to serve as an informant. A lower-level court had ordered the government to produce that evidence, but on appeal, the D.C. Circuit held that Eunice was not entitled to access to the material. In holding so, the Eunice court laid out the governing laws, starting with X section blah blah blah, which governs discovery of classified information by defendants. That section provides that a court may authorize the United States to delete specific items of classified information from documents to be made available to the defendant through discovery under the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. I hope you're following me here. I'm going through it kind of quick. The D.C. Circuit then explained to Eunice that under CIPA, first, a defendant must show that the statement sought crossed the low hurdle of relevance. The court then recognized a defendant's access to his own statements in the possession of the government has generally been granted upon minimal showing of relevance. Next, the court must determine if the assertion of privilege by the government is at least a colorable one. Then the court must ask if the evidence is helpful to the defense of an accused. So anyway, applying these principles, the court in Eunice denied the defendant access to the material, concluding that nothing in the classified documents, in fact, goes into the innocence of the defendant, vel non, whatever that means, and then doesn't impeach any evidence of guilt or makes more or less probable any facts at issue in establishing the defense charges. And why this is important is in that case, the defendant was seeking access to his own statements. We already know from Powell's memorandum in support of her motion to compel that Flynn wants access to the tapes of his conversation with Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak. But we do not know what other tapes Powell sought access to because a protective order required her to file her underlying motion under seal. Had the government been taping Flynn and not just the Russian ambassador, none of that matters. The government will likely argue since Flynn already pleaded guilty and is not attempting to withdraw his guilty plea, thus the tapes are irrelevant or at a minimum not helpful to the defense of an accused. The government is likely to counter. Powell, though, seems poised to argue that the evidence is relevant and helpful to show that a dismissal of the case for egregious governmental misconduct is appropriate. So what she's trying to do is get him thrown out because of grievous government misconduct. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I think Flynn was railroaded. I think that whole thing was bullshit, and he should have never been prosecuted. Nadler's fake. I'm just gonna put this one in the chat. I got a glimpse of this, but I'm not gonna read it today. Nadler's fake impeachment inquiry. This supposed impeachment inquiry he's doing. Again, it's a dog and pony show, and it's not an official investigation. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to try to time out to start actual impeachment in the heat of the 2020 election. I think that will backfire. I think it'll just piss people off, and I think it's just not going to work anyway. What else I got here? Let me click this real quick. I'm going to put myself back up here because as I go through these. This is the last one I'm going to do before Twitter trends, because as someone who's experienced something similar to this next article, I found this article to be fucking hilarious. Antifa calls a black man who has de-radicalized KKK members a white supremacist. Isn't that special? I don't know if you know about this guy. Antifa labeled a black man who has worked to de-radicalize KKK members a white supremacist at a Pennsylvania event last month. If you heard about the Minds event, I think Tim Pool and Minds.com kind of collaborated and had this event called Ending Racism that got protested by because there were a lot of, it was mostly right-wing speakers and panelists, but there were plenty of people on the left that were there. Not tons, but it was mostly right-wing people. But the name of the conference was called Ending Racism, and they got the original theater they were going to hold it in got threats, and then they had to move it to another event. Anyway, Daryl Davis, if you remember you might remember this guy. You might have heard of him. Daryl Davis was a speaker at an Ending Racism event organized by Minds.com, which was part of a series intended to create dialogue and promote viewpoint diversity. Davis, a musician, is a race relations expert who has spent years speaking to and rehabilitating members of groups like the KKK. About 40 Antifa members showed up to protest Ending Racism, now, you know what's funny? This is hilarious, and I think maybe Tim Pool did this. So people, they always say, well, you know what? If you're against Antifa, well, Antifa stands for anti-fascist. So if you're against Antifa, you're a fascist. Antifa showed up to protest an event called Ending Racism. So if you're protesting ending racism, I would assume that would make you fill in the blank, please. In the chat. Fill in the blank in the chat. If you're paying attention, fill in the blank. While you're doing that, I'm going to continue. So Antifa showed up to protest ending racism, which was moved from a New Jersey theater to a center in Pennsylvania because Antifa threatened to burn down the theater. They threatened to burn down the theater holding an event called Ending Racism. That kind of sounds like... So... that kind of sounds like something the KKK would do, doesn't it? This is hilarious. I can't. This is fucking hilarious. According to Davis told the Daily Caller News Foundation, some Antifa members called Davis, who is black and clearly black, a white supremacist for attending this event. Now, I got that the other day. Some stupid woke white girl on Twitter. We were talking about the white guy who got chased around by the cops, and they ended up chasing him down with a dog, and she was telling me, well, you're not black, you must identify with your white side. Woke white girl, you know how racist that is to say? To tell a black man, you must identify with your white side. Fuck you. Anyway, Davis said, I laughed. I thought it was funny, he told Daily Caller. What it proves is they had no point. They had no evidence of anything. When it boils down to just name-calling people who you don't show any proof and you refuse to talk to them, they refuse to even come in. There were no Klansmen or neo-Nazis in there or alt-right people. Yeah, it wasn't, some of them have been labeled alt-light. This is a stupid bullshit, or alt-right adjacent. You know what? I was thinking about this, by the way, and that term, when they say they're not alt-right, but they're alt-right adjacent, meaning that, they might have some overlapping views. And I always laugh because I was thinking about if you're familiar with the Hoteps, I had Hotep Jesus on the show a couple months ago, and I was thinking, well, I'm not really Hotep, but I am kind of Hotep adjacent because I do agree with a lot of things they talk about. Anyway, Antifa was invited to come inside and attend the after party, but refused, Davis said. Many Antifa members were aware of Davis and the work he has done, he said. Davis attended the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, where he spoke to members of both sides, continuing his work to help individuals involved in any extremist group to lessen violence and racism in America. They, Antifa, want to shut down any dialogue with racists, people who have differing views of their own, Davis said. Their thing is, just beat it out of them or make it impossible to meet with them. This guy literally goes and talks to KKK members. There's Daryl Davis right there. And he's gotten people to leave the KKK. Has become very good friends with some of them. And it's interesting. Daryl Davis, who has worked, it's right here, Daryl Davis, who has worked to de-radicalize members of extremist groups, talks to people in the KKK. And this is from his Facebook page. Let's see. Anyway, so they're calling Daryl Davis a white supremacist. Very good, Antifa. You are fucking morons. All right, well, it's that time where we get into Twitter trends, and I'm just going to leave all these other articles on the desk because we got to find out what's going on in the world, what people are going to be talking about, Oh, I got a notification here. Thank you, Sarah, by the way, for retweeting the show this morning on the old Twitterverse. Again, while you're here, if you haven't done so, share, which is right over here, and likes kind of over here too, right? You can hit the like button if you haven't done so already. And we do super chats through Streamlabs in the link down below, or Sarah has put it in the chat several times here, so you can find it if you want to do super chats. Moving on, let's see what's happening in the world. Let's go to the Twitter trends of the day. Now, a couple of them I've seen already, and I'm just like, oh, head slappers. And in fact, well, number one on Twitter today is one of the Monday things, because pretty much every Monday the top Twitter trend is Monday something. Today it's Monday motivation. We're going to click on the Monday motivation, see what's in the top chats or top tweets for Monday motivation. Listen, the top. Oh, great! My favorite, Alyssa Milano, is in the top of the topping trends of Twitter Monday motivation. Oh God, do I have to? All right, Alyssa Milano tweets, Congress is back. I'll be advocating with more than my SLE and HMA Esquire on the Hill for healthcare and a new public charge rule. Fascinating. 13 states file lawsuits over Trump's public charge rule. Okay, let's see here. Let's just click that. I'm curious now. Let me click get rid of some windows here. I do have one funny story to finish with, so don't let me forget. So 13 states file a lawsuit over Trump's public charge rule. 13 states, led by the Washington Attorney General Robert Ferguson, filed a lawsuit Wednesday over the Trump administration's new public charge rule. The states are suing the Department of Homeland Security over the new rule that expands the government's ability to deny entry or green cards to illegal immigrants based on their use of public services like food stamps and Medicaid. The rule, announced Monday, is set to go into effect on October 15th. Wednesday's law. So, this is amazing. Let me read on before I tell you why this is amazing to me. Wednesday's lawsuit, co-led by Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring, is the first to be filed by states against the rule and the second overall challenge since the government rolled out the rule. The other attorney generals filing suit include those from Colorado, Delaware, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, and Rhode Island. Representatives for Santa Clara County and San Francisco filed a suit on Tuesday seeking a temporary injunction in the district court for the Northern District of California. Fergus said the rule is unlawful and it changes the long-standing meaning of the term public charge, according that it violates the Immigration Nationality Act. Now, wait a... Now, here's the thing! Do they... I'm pretty sure they didn't... They're not explaining it anywhere in here. So... Ferguson said the rule is unlawful as it changes the long-standing meaning of the term public charge. The rule is arbitrary, capricious, and an abuse of discretion because, among other reasons, it reverses a decades-old consistent policy without reason analysis, Ferguson wrote to the 169-page complaint. So here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say that if people are going to come in here and be immediately on welfare, if they come in and take government services, that you may not be issued a green card. You may have to just go return off your visa, which I'm not even sure how you can get public assistance prior to having a green card anyway. But Washington will always be a state that stands with immigrants, and no action by the Trump administration, either through deeds or words, can change that. Well, nobody cares. You know what? There are rules for entering the country, and I know that. You know what they should do? And maybe, I don't know how you do this. It's probably, I'm going to guess it's going to be unconstitutional anyway if they bring it up. But you shouldn't be able to get any public assistance until you've lived here legally for 10 years. And that's because it's a backup thing, right? So you should be able to come here and either through sponsor or whatever, have some, because I know when my brother was trying to move here, holy crap. When I was reading up on some of the history, because my brother is from Nigeria, my natural brother who I didn't even know I had until I was in my 40s. So I was adopted as a young kid. But you used to have some sort of sponsor that would be responsible for you economically, or have some sort of business here. And so these states are saying, and that doesn't apply to refugees. It doesn't apply for asylum, people who are here for asylum. But even people from asylum are refugees. They don't get a green card. They get they're legal. They have a legal residency status, but not necessarily a green card. I don't think. I'm not 100% on this, but so these states are suing so they can have more welfare recipients in their state. I don't get it. It forces families into an impossible choice to sacrifice their dream of becoming Americans in order to provide healthcare, food, or a roof over their children's heads, or let families go without it in order to remain in the country. No, that means they have to, if they're coming here, they should have some means of sustaining themselves without having our government and the people who already lived here and paid the taxes and everything to live here. What are these? If Trump proposes it, these are people who are going to oppose it. Trump proposes, they oppose. Doesn't matter what it is. That's why. Well, the next fuck. Let's get. No more. I need a real Monday. What I say? Monday motivation. Let's do a real Monday motivation. Okay, this is not it. That's not it. Nope. Step by step, bit by bit. Thanks to Tavergirl for pushing me daily. Okay, this is Luke Evans who's getting a workout in. Good. That's a motivating. It's a living thing made from within. I don't know. That's a promoted one. Here we go. Law of attraction. When you truly want something and go after it without limiting yourself with disbelief, the universe will make it happen. No, actually, you will make it happen. When you even if you fail, you learn something in the process. But the universe ain't gonna make it happen. Let me change this is the law of attraction, but I'm gonna just change this a little bit. When you truly want something and go after it without limiting yourself with disbelief, you are much more likely to make it happen. You're not guaranteed. The universe ain't going to make it happen, but you are more likely to make it happen if you believe in yourself and really work. Okay? And even if you don't get there, again, you're going to learn. You learn from the failures along the way, and then you try the next thing if you don't get there. So that's there's my Monday motivation. Screw Monday motivation. Number 2, this is the one I wanted to get to. Oh my gosh, filthy mouthed wife. Now I thought maybe Lady Boomer said something because she my Lady Boomer can curse like a truck driver. But no, this is because of how so often things in the top 10 of Twitter are something to do with Trump tweeting, and this absolutely is. Now, it's funny because whenever Twitter or one of the the alphabet media decides that they're going to write something about Trump, it always has something to do with Trump kind of attacking or whatever, and it's never that he responds. But anyway, President Trump takes aim at, quote, boring musician John Legend and his filthy mouth wife for not giving him credit for the criminal justice reform. Now, so here's what happened. Okay. Apparently on MSNBC, they had a panel with, who was it? Who's that newscaster dude? Les something. Not Les Nessman. If you know, hey, by the way, if you know who Les Nessman is, put a 1 in the chat. Oh, just a single 1 if you know who Les Nessman is. Not Lester Hayes. He was a linebacker. Anyway, here's what happened. So Trump tweeted something because there was a forum on MSNBC talking about prison reform, right? And criminal justice reform. And if you've been paying attention, Donald Trump had a whole panel talking about criminal justice reform. They got some stuff passed. They got the First Step Act passed, right? So the First Step Act has actually gotten 2,000 or 3,000 people out of prison, okay? That had maybe were over sentenced or whatever. They went and reviewed thousands of cases and had recommended people who've been model prisoners, and they've gotten tons of people out of prison, right? And that was because President Trump, someone asked him about it. In fact, what's the other dude's name? Van Jones. Van Jones was part of that group. He's a way out there lefty, right? But he was part of that group. He's like, you know what? Hey, this is important to me. I'll work with the devil himself, Donald Trump, and we'll get this done. And they got stuff passed, and they had this thing where some of the prisoners had been let out in a conference, the press conference with Donald Trump, hardly got any attention at all. But it was, so Donald Trump is actually pivotal in having this stuff pass. So they have this forum on MSNBC with Chrissy Teigen and John Legend, and I think Van Jones might have been on it. Lester Holt, that's who I'm talking about. And they don't even mention Trump. They talk about how this First Step Act was a good thing and a good start, whatever. And apparently didn't mention President Trump. And so President Trump was like, now President Trump, if he's going to respond to everything. I wish I could find his damn tweet first. But of course they say Trump attacked Chrissy Teigen on Twitter. He didn't attack Chrissy Teigen, but he did. Well, he called her foul mouth. Anyway, so here. And so everything on Twitter blows up into whatever. The Twitter first lit up Monday over model Chrissy Teigen's response to an attack. An attack. Yeah. You know how much shit Chrissy Teigen talks about President Trump. So Trump, who said something to her. An attack from President Trump, an exchange that was heated even by the standards of its routine social media fights. The spat began when President Trump, apparently venting about a town hall on criminal justice reform that aired on MSNBC Sunday night, tweeted that he and other Republicans should be getting more credit for signing the First Step Act into law. Now, is this the tweet he did? No, it's not. The legislation signed back in December includes measures that allows thousands of federal inmates to leave prison earlier than they otherwise would have, eases some mandatory minimum sentences, and give judges more leeway in sentencing, among other things. It had support from lawmakers from both sides of the political aisle and received personal attention from Trump's son-in-law and senior White House advisor, Jared Kushner. And Jared Kushner, part of the Trump administration, brought it to the president, and Trump was actively involved. And so Trump says, I signed it into law, no one else did, and Republicans deserve much credit. But now that it's passed, people had virtually nothing to do with it are taking the praise the president tweeted Sunday night. Here's the tweaks. I don't want to take CNN's version. I want to actually show you exactly what he tweeted. When all of the people pushing so hard for criminal justice reform were unable to come even close to getting it done, they came to me as a group and asked for my help. I got it done with a group of senators and others who would never have gone for it. Obama couldn't come close. A man named Van Jones, why did he just say Van Jones? And many others were profusely grateful at the time. I signed it into law, no one else did. And Republicans deserve much credit. But now that it has passed, people had virtually nothing to do with it are taking the praise. Guys like boring musician John Legend. Now, he didn't have to say that, but he did, because John Legend's always taking shots at him. So he's like, fuck you, I'll take a shot back. And his filthy mouthed wife, who he didn't name, that's hilarious, are talking now about how great it is. But I didn't see them around when we needed help getting it passed. Anchor, quote unquote, he's such a troll, Lester Holt, doesn't even bring up the subject of President Trump or the Republicans when talking about the importance or passage of criminal justice reform. They only talk about the minor players or people who had nothing to do with it, and the people that so desperately sought my help when everyone else had failed. All they talk about now is impeaching President Trump. And that's, if you ever go on her feed or his feed, constantly John Legend and Chrissy Teigen, constant Trump bashing, and it's almost all they do. Well, they do other stuff, but still, which is hilarious. It's everything he says here. Now, this is where Trump makes me roll my eyes every time he does it. He didn't necessarily have to call them out and give them nicknames and whatever. I mean, he could have done it without doing that, but he did. That's Trump style. That's the anyway. So then Trump went after singer and activist board. I already read that. But Chrissy Teigen, model and whatever she does. I mean, she's like the co-host on some lip sync show on what's the show? What the hell is that on TBS with LL Cool J? She's a model, and she's an attractive gal, but she's known for being a model. Teigen fired right back with a colorful insult of her own. LOL, what a pussy ass bitch. Tagged everyone but me. An honor, Mr. President. And here's her actual tweet. Oh, God. LOL, what a pussy ass bitch. Tagged everyone but me. An honor, Mr. President. So now, filthy mouth wife, and now it's interesting because they don't. I know pussy ass bitch is probably trending, but they're not going to put it on here. And I don't think Jack needs the wrath. He doesn't want that smoke that much. That's going to get Jack. So I'm pretty sure they just left that off because actually it could be a triggering phrase for some people. Legend criticized the president too without profanity by tweeting, imagine being president of a whole country and spend your Sunday night hate watching MSNBC hoping anybody will praise you. Hey, John Legend, I got an idea. Whether or not he mentioned you at all, you could have easily acknowledged what he did, and you didn't. And now, should the president be focusing on these two, morons, because John Legend is also someone who has absolutely been a spokesman for criminal justice reform when Obama was president. And guess what? It didn't happen. He didn't get any of it done. I'm talking about President Obama. So, President Trump, for whatever, if you're a fan of Trump or not, this is something he did. That's a fact. That right over there. He did it. Okay? He got people in the White House. His son-in-law, who's one of his advisors, came in, got people together, and they wrote this bill, and they got Van Jones, who's he used to be an advisor of President Obama before he got fired because he said some shit. Well, they figured out some of the shit he used to say in the past, and nobody liked it, and he left the Obama administration. But anyway, they all got together and got it done, got it signed, got it passed into law, and people are out there. Are people who are benefiting from this particular passed law where they got out of prison, they got into jobs programs. President Trump, the whole group got them. Walmart signed onto it and got a bunch of them working for Walmart, and all these companies and stuff are hiring these people that are getting out of prison early. Guess who did that? Guess who should get credit for that? It would be you would think something so significant that in a town hall like that, one of the first names that would come out of your mouth, despite the fact that you can't stand them, to get credit for this happening would be President Trump. Right? I don't care what you think of Trump. He did this. And it's a good thing. And so they're all patting themselves on the back and all the people that didn't, but nary a mention of the president who was instrumental in making it happen and who ended up signing the law into law. Signing the bill into law, I should say. It wasn't a law until he signed it, right? So anyway, now Anthony Scaramucci, who's anti-Trump now, who was pro-Trump at some point, whatever. I think he's mad because Trump never tweeted about his book he wrote. I don't know. Anthony Scaramucci, Trump's former communication director, who has now disavowed the president, on Monday called the spat between Trump and the celebrity couple despicable. Have any other presidents in recent history, modern history, gone after their private citizens, whether they're celebrities or non-celebrities? Scaramucci told CNN's Alison Camerata on New Day. For the last 2.5 years, this guy acted like a bully, crazy person against his fellow citizens. Well, here's the thing. Anthony, you're right. President Trump is not just the norm. He's way off the norm. I agree with you. He uses that Twitter in ways that I would never expect the President of the United States to use it, right? However, he may tweet about people he doesn't like. The former president tried to put reporters in jail. So I'll take the weird, it's 6-1, half dozen of the other, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, which is worse? Anyway, all right, let's just fly through the rest of these Twitter trends. So anyway, filthy mouth wife. Again, I was like, oh shit, what did Lady Boomer do? All right, moving on. Let's go. Let's see. And really, there's not a whole lot left. Monday thoughts. Nope, I'm not doing that one. Monday morning. No, it's another Monday. Dreamcast number 5, Sega Dreamcast. I don't know. Happy 20th anniversary of the Sega Dreamcast. Did anyone ever have one of those things? 20 years later, the dream is still alive. What are your fondest memory of this incredible system? Do you have it on launch? Did you have it on launch day? Does anyone still have a Sega Dreamcast? That would be the more important question. Does anyone have a Sega anything anymore that they actually use? That's dumb. Number 6, Monday Mood. Nope. Chrissy Teigen's number 7 with John Legend. They're still not, it says trending with John Legend, foul mouth white, but they're still not putting that pussy ass bitch up there. And she hashtag it. She's trying to get it trending, but I don't think they're going to let it trend. Flaming Dancer. Huh? Dreamcast was good. The Master System was better. Okay. President Trump responded to Mark Sanford's 2020 presidential challenge. Yeah, Mark Sanford, former was he governor of South Carolina? Yeah, the guy who disappeared and went off into the woods, and actually he was just having an affair. Okay, so Flaming Dancer is trendy because Trump tweeted something that said Flaming Dancer. Hold me closer, Flaming Dancer. Anyway, when the former governor of the great state of South Carolina, Mark Sanford, was reported missing, only then to say he was away hiking in the Appalachian Trail, then was found in Argentina with his Flaming Dancer friend, it sounded like his political career was over. It was, but then he ran for Congress and won, only to lose his reelect after I tweeted my endorsement on election day for his opponent. But now take heart. He is back and running for president of the United States. The Three Stooges, all badly failed candidates, will give it a go. Okay. And of course, the people, it's funny because Mark Sanford is a joke. And there's people, anyone would make a better president than you. Okay, whatever. And whatever a Flaming Dancer is, would make a better president than you. Okay, Flaming Dancer 2020. So Flaming Dancer is going to trend today. At some point, pussy ass bitch has to make the top 20 though. They got to do it. I'm sorry. It's funny, even if I don't think it's even though I think it's stupid. It would be funny if pussy ass bitch trended on Twitter. Ooh, could you imagine? Oh, imagine the flames coming off his Twitter feed though. But anyway, nothing to do with me has to do with what? Oh, okay. It has nothing to do with... Trump said it, so it's trending. I know nothing about an Air Force plane landing at an airport, which I do not own, and have nothing to do with near Turnberry Resort. Is it? Which I do not own, in Scotland, and filling up with fuel with the crew staying overnight at the Turnberry. They have good taste. Nothing to do with me. Because apparently the Air Force, Trump says Air Force stays at his Scotland resort have nothing to do with me. Apparently, what happened here? They're pumping up this emoluments clause thing. They're trying to. Let's do full screen so you can see it. Apparently he denied involvement in any shift in military practice that has allowed Air Force crews to overnight at his luxury Turnberry Golf Resort in Scotland. The Air Force on Sunday ordered a worldwide review of how the branch chooses oversight accommodations for its crews following a Politico report revealing that the House Oversight Committee has investigated an uptick in unusual stops there. Stops that included overnight stays at Trump Turnberry by Air Force crews in the last 4 years. Well, in the last 4 years... When was Trump inaugurated? It was he was inaugurated 2.5 years ago. Because in January it'll be 3 years, and then the January 2021 it'll be 4 years. So it was 2.5 years ago. So this began 4 years ago. Trump. Let's see. 4 years ago, Trump wasn't even running for president yet. But it's Turnberry by Air Force crews in the last 4 years. Fascinating. Typically, Air Force crews will stop at U.S. military bases elsewhere in Europe to refuel where it would be cheaper to do so. But according to a letter that Oversight Committee sent the Pentagon in June, the military has spent $11 million on fuel at the Prestwick Airport, the closest to Trump Turnberry since October 2017. Well, that's not 4 years ago. That's 2 years ago. But over the last 4 years, they're talking about. Okay, where's it? Where's this? So anyway, Trump says, nothing to do with me. Well, other than you own the resort. So now I'm sure Trump was ordering the Air Force to, using the Air Force to, you have to stay at my resorts, and if you really like them, you can stay there more often, and whatever, we'll make millions of dollars. It's whatever. Good God. Anyway, that's Trump. Trump said it, so it's trending. Falwell's trending. AIDS open up about time at Liberty University, and Jerry Falwell in a new Politico report. In an exclusive report for Politico, more than 24 current and former Liberty University employees opened up about working at the Christian college. We're not a school, we're a real estate hedge fund, one official said. Well, it is a university also. Good God. You know how many... I got to read this article. I haven't read it, but anyway. Jerry Falwell Jr. is trending. Young John is, I don't know what this is. It's got to be a cinematic intricacy, the beauty, the ambience, the Young Yon. I don't know. I have no idea. Something that's Asian. Maybe Jack Cochran can help me with that one. All right. Victory Monday. What is Victory Monday? This is quick. Yeah. People, are the Cowboys playing Monday Night Football? I don't know. But anyway, everyone's talking about football. Hey, tell me if your favorite, just yes or no, did your favorite football team win this weekend? Just throw it in the chat. Yes or no. And I don't even care what team it is. Did your favorite football team win this weekend? I don't know if they're my favorite team, but they're the local team, so I'm going to put yes. Sonic Adventure, probably game thing. Dombrowski, Red Sox fire team president Dave Dombrowski. Liberty University, again, is trending with Falwell. I'm not going to go into that. Good Monday. Don't know. Nico Horner is somebody that is playing baseball and going to play for the Cubs. Okay, they signed top prospect Nico Horner. They're calling him up. Outbreak. Oh, there is. Now I know you're going to hear about this. There is a swine flu outbreak. African swine fever outbreak in China is pushing up pork prices higher as the country calls a third of its hogs. There's also an epidemic, not academic, silly me. There's an epidemic in a country in Africa, a black plague, and people are digging up the graves of people. Oh, it's terrible. But yeah, price of pork in China is going to go way up because they had to kill a third of the cows in China, and I don't know how much. We don't import pork. I think we export it, but it's still going to cause. It's still going to cause some problems. It'll cause problems around the world because everybody. We export a lot of food too, not just import. So that's going to be bad. And then last, U.S. News apparently put out its list of best colleges and universities. HPU, High Point, named number one in 3 categories. Oh, okay, so they're proud of that. Florida State's there. So anyway, all the schools are going to be bragging that they made the U.S. News top 20. And it's funny because, so when I went to school, I went to Drake University, and Drake always ended up in, they have like 17 different lists, so it's hard for your school not to end up in some list, but every school can brag, we made the U.S. News and World Report list of top colleges and universities. We were the best of one of the best in central Iowa, North region. So anyway, lots of schools will be bragging about their inclusion in the list that is the greatest of all list if you run a college or university. So there you go. Thank you, Breadbarian, for following me on Twitter. Also, by the way, Thylacine Dreams. I'm glad you're here. By the way, if you would like to follow me on Twitter and aren't doing so already, my Twitter handle is right below my right shoulder, right there. Down here is my @Dawg Knight. I'm the same on Twitter, Gab, and Minds. Although I don't really use Gab and Minds that often. I suppose I go on Minds once in a while, but I'm not a big Gab person. I just opened that account when they started, and I've left it open. I use it occasionally to tweet out the show. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I don't do a ton on Instagram, but mostly pictures of flowers and birds. But if you like flowers and birds, @YesThatMarty. But I gotta go. This is the end of the show. It's time for me to head out of here. So thank you for being here. We're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, 2 p.m. GMT for people in other parts of the world who use Greenwich Mean Time to figure out what we're doing in America. the United States of America, that is. We're all America in this hemisphere. And before you go, if you haven't already done so, hit the share button, hit the like button, and you can hit the Streamlabs link anytime. We do donations and super chats through Streamlabs if that's your inclination. It's great motivation for me to keep going, but I love doing this, so I'm going to keep going anyway. So we'll be back tomorrow on Tuesday the 10th, just like every weekday that we do this. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, in particular, my super chat today from the Breadbarian. Gave me a little dough. That was cute. I appreciate that. Everybody, I'll be back tomorrow. My name is Dawg Knight. And I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and I want to thank you for joining me today on the Dawg Knight channel. Before you go, if you like what you saw and you're not already subscribed, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below, and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, and 2 p.m. GMT. A special thanks to all supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through our Streamlabs link in the description below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.